All right, we're live at Tabacon Cigars and Spirits, and Josh Appel is here, and Solana, and Jimmy is here, dressed all dapper. So here's what we did to Jimmy Appel. We kind of intimated throughout the last couple of weeks that me and Crowder is at this Sports Business Journal event in New York, but he played along with us. We kind of intimated that we might be wearing suits or tuxedos, but we never said that we were. But we always talked about it in earshot of Jimmy. Hey, you wearing a suit? I think we ended the show yesterday. We were off the air, and Crowder said, are you guys wearing suits tomorrow? And I think Solana said, well, maybe not a tie. And but we always did that in earshot of Jimmy, and that's why Jimmy has shown up today in a sharp pair of slacks and a great-looking burgundy shirt. Was that burgundy?
It looks like, yeah, burgundy.
Yeah. Where'd you get that?
No idea.
Costco?
Probably Costco.
Yeah, that's a Costco shirt.
I think that thing that I like the best is just the combed hair.
I mean, he looks
hair.
terrific,
He really
right?
does.
Looks terrific. Doesn't look like radio, as we said.
No.
So, Josh Appel, you're on the call this weekend. You're back in Seattle?
Yeah, I got Cardinals and Seahawks on Sunday.
That's a good game.
Yeah, battle for first place in the NFC West. The Cardinals won 4 in a row. That loss the Dolphins have against the Cardinals doesn't look like it was as bad of a loss. Obviously, the Dolphins would have liked to not have blown that, but just see what the Arizona Cardinals have become. All right. You say, all right, you lost to a good team.
Well, let me ask you then about the Dolphins. We can frame this as 15 minutes of game day uncensored. It's brought to you by the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Are you buying, same thing I asked Pizzola, what the Dolphins are selling the last couple of games? You've seen a couple of wins. The Arizona game, you'd certainly love to have that. The Buffalo game, you almost had a chance to get that. But the last couple of games, they have wins. There is a pathway to the playoffs. They're certainly going to be the in the hunt team that gets talked about for a while. Are you buying them as a playoff team?
I think with Tua playing at this level, I think you have to. I mean, he's arguably playing some of the best football of his career since he came back from injury. And for the most part, the defense has been very good. I think that the only thing to be is encouraged by how they've been playing. They'll obviously still have the 3 tougher games left on the schedule: Green Bay, Houston, San Francisco. Those aren't going to be easy. And then, just in the NFL, crazy things happen on a week-to-week basis. So, you never know. But playing the way they have, there's no reason why they can't be in this until the very end of the season. Some people might dismiss the last couple of games as them beating inferior opponents, and yeah, that's fine. But this is how you want. This is the conversation we had last year. This is how you want them to look in these games. They're not eking out these victories. There's a 2-score win at home against the Raiders, 34 points. I think the most impressive thing is that they've almost changed. I think Pizzola kind of mentioned this too. They've almost changed the identity of the offense in the sense that they're not fishing for the big plays all the time. They have 4 double-digit scoring drives on Sunday against the Raiders, and obviously they put the game away with the big play to Jonnu Smith. That's what playoff teams do, right? They don't fish for the big play all the time.
Didn't we made the analogy yesterday of the Panthers and Paul Ball, where it's fun when you watch them put up 7 and 8 goals a game, and then Paul Maurice comes in and he's like, no. This is how you advance in the playoffs. And there's probably some analogy to be made there when it comes to what you're seeing from the Dolphins versus what you had seen.
Look, at a certain point, complementary football means when you're playing a team that is better than you, better offense than you, great quarterback on the other side, you want to keep them off the field as much as possible. So if you're having these quick scoring drives, yeah, they're great, but your defense is gassed and the best player, which is in this case like a Mahomes or a Josh Allen, is going to be on the field the whole time. So I think if they can keep up this, where they're able to have long drives and punch it in, I think that bodes well going forward in these tougher games. And I think we saw a version of that against Buffalo when they probably played them about as well as we've seen them in quite some time.
Yeah, and I'm with you, by the way. Like, I'm happy with the long drives. I'm happy with the different approach. Hawk Crowder and I discussed it yesterday, though. Why should we buy into it if it didn't work? Because to start this segment, you said that loss to Arizona is not looking too bad. They lost to a good team. But my issue with the Dolphins going back to last year was that they're incapable of beating the good teams.
Totally
so I understand what you're saying. Hey, they've shown that they're back on track. Clearly, Tua's playing some of the best football. I'm with you on all that. But before we can officially say we're buying in, don't we have to see this work against a good team? Maybe it is that Green Bay game on Thanksgiving Day.
No, absolutely. But like at the end of the day, wins and losses are what matter. But I'm looking at just like the style of play and the way they're playing. And are they getting, we've seen how many, the first Buffalo game of the year, they were really never in that game. The game last year in Buffalo, where they were with them toe-to-toe the first couple drives, then Buffalo just poured it on after that. It's that this year, I guess. But that point that you make is a totally fair one until they do it. And I'm not saying that I think they're going to go on a run and win out and make the playoffs. I just think that the version of this team right now is one that can at least be in the conversation and have something to play for until the end.
It's interesting, though, because we had Gino Torretta on in the 2 o'clock hour when we were talking about, or maybe it was a 3 o'clock hour when we were talking about it. But he was saying that essentially defenses have learned to not allow Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle to have the deep ball. And Solana's saying, well, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. How did they not know that beforehand? But is it a conscious decision by Mike McDaniel to change the offense, or maybe to say to Tua, hey, don't go for the home run? I'm much happier if you dink and dunk your way to the double-digit drives, like you say. Don't go for the home run unless it's a sure thing.
I don't think it has to be one or the other. I think it can be both. I think you just kind of take what the defense is giving.
But it's noticeably different, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's noticeably different.
But the idea is that the more you keep taking what the defense gives you, the explosive plays are going to come out of that as a result. So I think it's an adjustment league, right? 5 years ago, we had multiple quarterbacks in this league throwing for 4,000, 4,500 yards, close to 5,000 yards. And defenses over the last couple seasons have adjusted. So people are, in general, complaining about the quality of quarterback play in this league, the quality of offensive play in this league. It's dropped so much. And yeah, maybe it has a little bit, but maybe we're just in one of those periods where the defenses are having their time and the league will readjust itself again, and we'll see an offensive boom again. I happen to think the sports had a great year. A lot of close games. I know that doesn't always mean that the games themselves are quote-unquote well played, but just for example, I was in Kansas City for that Denver game. The final score was 16-14. It was not some obvious shootout. There wasn't, a million amazing plays in the game, but it was a close game with an incredible finish, and that's what everybody remembers. And so when you have games that are coming down to the end, is that not what you want?
By the way, you had a fantastic call. No, you did. You had a fantastic call on the blocked field goal.
Thank
you did.
You very much.
That was very good. That. You hear Josh on Sports USA nationally, by the way.
It was a fantastic call. Tua today, though, said we're still looking for the big play. We still want to incorporate that. We're just taking what the defense is giving us. I think a big criticism last year, as fun as it was to watch Tyreek Hill have the 100-plus yard games almost every single game and shoot for 2K last year, was the fact that the offense was one-dimensional. So even somebody like me who's still skeptical about this entire situation because I want to see them do it against a good team, I'm willing to concede, hey, it does look better all around as an offense that you're incorporating Jonnu Smith. Achane continues to be electric, and you have multiple players catching passes. When I say multiple, not 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 different guys making an impact in the passing game rather than Tua focused on one target.
I was in some rabbit hole of 2024 quarterback draft prospects, with the Caleb class from this past year. And there was a video that I saw of Jordan Palmer breaking down one of Caleb Williams' plays in college. It was one of his better plays where he scrambled around, threw a touchdown, Heisman moment for Caleb Williams. And Jordan Palmer said he stopped it, and he goes, I see a guy open at 6 yards, I see a guy open at 7 yards, and that's 2 first downs for me. And that's something he's going to have to learn when he gets into the league. And I think that there's been some version of that, generally speaking, with the Dolphins, where if teams are going to give you that Devon Achane dump-off, and he's going to take it for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 yards at a time.
Why wouldn't you do it every time?
Take that. Teams are going to double Tyreek Hill. It's going to happen. All right, so now they got to focus more.
Don't you run a little bit of a risk, though? I said it to Gino. Don't you run a little bit of a risk of Tyreek getting unhappy, Jalen Waddle getting unhappy, and having to deal with that?
Sure, but I think what we've also seen through this is that they're still getting their targets since Tua came back. Tyreek finished, 61, 62 yards. Still had 7, 8 catches, right, and a touchdown. He's getting to the end zone. He's not going to get his yardage.
Not going to get 2,000 yards doing that.
Well, I mean, listen, I think at this point, he's got his money here. Whenever they get into the negotiations, I'm sure the Dolphins will be willing to pay. And if it's not them, somebody else will. I think the league is well aware of what Tyreek Hill's ability is when it comes to that. I think winning is the more important thing. And it's such a cliche, but like winning cures all. So when he's having these tough games and they're on a 4 or 5 game losing streak because they can't complete the forward pass, yeah, there's going to be some frustration. But when the offense as a whole looks like this and he's still getting his 7, 8, 9 targets a game, whatever it is, scoring a touchdown, what's he got to be unhappy about?
What do you think about Sunday? So the Dolphins are 7-point favorites. You heard Rob Pizzola handicap it. He likes the over. He didn't seem like he was going to bet a side on it. What do you see happening on Sunday?
I actually happen to agree with Pizzola. I might take the Dolphins team total again as well. Took it last week against Vegas.
What is the team total? Do you know?
I would assume it's probably going to be somewhere around 23, 24. Was that 26.5 last week? I think there's probably a little more respect for the Patriots defense just in general than maybe the Raiders. But I think New England, he hit the nail on the head with Drake May. He brings a different dimension to that offense. Yeah, he might turn the ball over a time or two during the course of the game, but you watch them, and they are definitely a different offense with him running it than they were with Jacoby Brissett. So they might run their way into 17, 20 points. Dolphins score into the mid to high 20s, excuse me. There you have your over. So I think I might play a couple things there. 7 points is still a lot. And it's a divisional game. For whatever reason, the Dolphins and Patriots always play close games.
Yeah, so Dolphins total points is 26.5 at plus 110 or 27.5 at minus 125. Player props for the game. Passing, Tua's at 244.5.
It's hard because they I don't know what kind of big having this. He might throw for 235, 240, play really efficient ball, and they
get out of there with a win, which is all they care about.
Right.
Drake May's at 208.5.
That might be a number because if they're down,
that's what I'm thinking. If they're down, and you would hope that they are. I mean, I don't want to think about the otherwise. Tyreek Hill, 67.5 yards receiving.
That's such an insane number thinking about what it was last year.
It's crazy because we talked about betting him over 100 yards receiving every game for 17 games. You're going to win more than you lose. He's got one game receiving over 100 yards?
First game.
I think anything around that number with Tyreek Hill, just like the Mahomes is an underdog. I think at this point with Tua back, you kind of got to roll the dice there.
Here's my Tua rushing over is at 3.5 once again.
It didn't cash in though.
I know he didn't have one attempt.
How frustrating is it for you to watch when you take that bet where now he's actually got this skill where he's able to avoid pressure and scramble outside the pocket, and it looks like he's going to take off at the very last second.
There
were 3 of them
2 times etched in my mind from last Sunday where he could have taken off, where it looked like he had a mile to run, but he actually completes a pass. It's not like he's not doing the right thing. That 3.5, though, is so damn tempting. Devon Achane, 68.5 rushing yards is the...
What about his rush plus receiving?
Over, under there. They don't have that yet. These are just like the beginning props.
It is funny, though, because the broadcast on CBS the other day was talking about how any time, and I think it was Ross Tucker, who happens to be very good, but he kept saying...
Can't decide. So at first he was annoying me. And I've heard him do bits of certain games, but this was the first time, and Ross Tucker's a friend of the show, this was the first time I listened to him for an entire game. By the end, I was in love with his analysis.
He's great.
I thought he talks like a human.
Yeah, he makes you understand it, but he kept saying early on in the game, see Tua scrambling out of the pocket. The Dolphins don't want that. Every time he extends the play, something bad happens. But most of Tua's good plays or best plays in that game, like the Jonnu Smith touchdown, came from Tua getting out of pressure, getting out of the pocket, being mobile, and then making a throw.
You called Ross Tucker a friend of the show, but you also said that you thought he was annoying for the first part of the game. If he was joining the show, would you have told him that you thought he was annoying?
I think I would have. He's a big into honesty guy. We've had a fight before. Manny, that's Manny.
Whoa.
We've had a fight before with Ross Tucker. He doesn't like bread.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that to be so odd because he's a Philly guy and he loves a cheesesteak.
And he's a big, here's what the press box spread is at every game.
And he said, I don't want to waste my carbs on bread. And I get it,
I don't.
But you're a guy's guy. Like, your whole niche is that you're a guy's guy. You can't not like bread. So I do think I would tell him that I found him annoying at the beginning, but that he grew on me.
I actually like that broadcast crew as well. It's the bottom tier of CBS.
Who's the play-by-play
Tom
guy?
McCarthy. He does college basketball, college football.
I thought he was very
and the
good.
Phillies. Yeah, so Tom McCarthy likes to joke sometimes that, if we're on your game, it's probably not a really good game. I like that crew. I think they're great. Interesting that Jay Feely is
he's the worst out of the three.
Parlayed being a kicker into a game analyst.
He's the worst out of the three. He doesn't do anything.
He wore gloves and forearm bands as a kicker.
He did.
That's what I remember.
He's also a friend of the program. He was on with us once 6 years ago. Although I don't think Ross Tucker has been on for 2 years.
Well, we brought him on every National Beer Day, and then I think he was like, "All right, I got the point. How many times can I talk about beer with you guys?" Because that was our niche with him.
Right. Yeah. And there's 14 beer days throughout the year, different types of beer days. Yeah, I do. I think he got tired of that.
So what was it? Just, do you like an IPA?
It was actually drinking stories from him, and man, he's one of the most prodigious drinkers that you will ever speak to. Where did he go? He's an Ivy League guy.
Yeah, he went to
the Yale. I don't remember, but anyway, or Columbia. I don't know, but he is a prodigious drinker. So he's got great stories about drinking.
He went to Princeton.
Princeton.
Yeah,
that's right.
Smart
Princeton
guy.
Man.
Yeah. Anyway, Josh Appel's going to be here with us till 6 o'clock tonight. We're at Tabacón Cigars and Spirits in Plantation. At 6 p.m. is when the beginnings of Whiskey Stars and Cigars starts. And if you want to come on out here to Plantation, you're in the area, and you want to enjoy mingling with some 560 QAM folks like me and Appel and Solana and Jimmy and Joe Rose and Brendan Tobin, Leroy Horde, Jay Fig. I could go on and on. If you want to come on out, we're at Tabacón Cigars and Spirits at Plantation Walk, and you come on out. 6 o'clock it gets underway. 7 o'clock it's really the sports talk portion of it, but we'll be out here doing the show till 6, and we'll keep you entertained up until then. 5 o'clock Funky Buddha happy hour. Speaking of beer, and Ross Tucker, you remember what he called Funky Buddha a million times on the show?
Funky Bruda. Right? Funky Bruda.
Well, first of all, you said Funky Buddha, didn't you?
I said Bruda.
He said,
Bruda?
He threw an R in there.
He kept saying Funka Buddha.
Funka Buddha.
Funka Buddha. He
Yeah.
couldn't get it right. Funka Buddha.
I think Ryan might take that into consideration, maybe for a brand.
Maybe a specialty beer, a Funka Buddha for Ross Tucker. So Appel almost kicked my computer right onto the floor. He's got these big hammy legs,
Huge feet, man.
yeah.
Glad he didn't kick mine.
Yeah, it's too much.
It's coming next.
Lucky he didn't kick you in the face, Jimmy. Be on your best behavior. 5 o'clock Funky Buddha happy hour is coming up, so don't go anywhere.